Arrow began to stir, shifting side to side, only to be forced awake by the lack of gravity. Whoa, where am I? What's going on? He yawned, laying suspended in a pitch black lake of nothingness. I must have gotten the hang of this meditation thing. Not much to look at, though. I guess this could be fun, he thought. Floating in the vast emptiness, a booming of many voices interrupted the silence.
Existence has gone through many changes.
It echoed. Jolting from comfort and unable to see anything, Arrow searched for the source of the many voices. Who's there? He could still feel the powerful voice reverberating around him, but it did not respond. After an extended period of silence and some further investigation of his unusual situation, Arrow dived headfirst into what he thought was the greatest dream of his life. Staring into the surrounding void, it was hard to understand. It felt like floating underwater while still being able to breathe. Not asking any questions and letting his instincts take control, Arrow swam through the darkness. Propelling himself faster and faster just by thinking, the blissful moment of exploration was soon interrupted by the appearance of an approaching bright light. When Arrow finally noticed, the ball of light came to a stop, still quite some distance away.
I wonder how much you know about the true beginning of existence.
The booming voices questioned. Arrow was scared but curious. I've heard several different stories, but at this point I would imagine I know nothing. Then we shall change that, Light Seed, the voices answered, now speaking as one. The distant light continued its approach. After a certain point, Arrow couldn't tell if it was getting closer or larger, but it didn't stop until reaching the size of a planet. The glowing sun-like orb spun sluggishly and had subtle outlines of continents undulating across its surface. In the beginning, there was only one realm, a divine realm, filled with divine beings, celestial creatures, and their progeny. All possessed gifts of the most magnificent and terrifying virtues. With such strength and power, these celestial creatures and divine beings waged an endless war over control of the divine realm. One sad but inevitable day, this chaos broke the very fabrics of space and time. From this opening, the essence of life spewed forth, only contained by the unscattered fragments. This miracle was the creation of the first lesser realm, which contained the flow of life as it leaked from its divine origin. With a blank canvas available, the continued flow of divine energy soon gained the attention of the same warring entities of the divine realm. As they made the voyage, crossing the barriers of existence, they were branded according to the energy and intent harbored within them. Their emergence brought to existence the brandings of chaos and serenity, good and evil, creating a system of balance between the opposing forces. The star-sized ball of light representing the divine realm began to move away from Arrow, shrinking in size. Once it stopped, a small section exploded, followed by the escaping flow of life and energy. Some of the fractured pieces of the divine realm scattered into the nothingness, while the rest remained gathered around the divine event. Through random chaos or luck, the fractured pieces of the divine realm contained the flow of divine energy and life, thus creating the first lesser realm. To Arrow, it appeared as if light was trying to escape a blazing sun and was captured by the divine fragments. The light that flowed into the first lesser realm began to change colors, as did the lesser realm itself. A fiery red appeared, immediately contested by a calm blue. They spun against each other until they synchronized, evenly spreading across the first lesser realm. With the sides of the scale in place, the balance of everything swirled out of control. The voices unified again. With the same conflict that caused the creation of the lesser realm infecting it from the start, something needed to be done. Creating an acceptable harmony between serenity and chaos would be no easy task. Things turned worse as evil and chaos began to gain control of the first lesser realm. To stop the reign of chaos and restore balance, the forces of good and serenity made a sacrifice that could not have been foreseen. A group of divine creatures and gods representing all that is good forfeited their physical forms to the unification of their energy and spirits, thus giving birth to the unity and a new hope for life. The swirling lesser realm came to a standstill, but the flow of life and energy continued. With no stop in sight, the crudely gathered divine fragments were ready to overflow.
After subduing the hordes of evil, the Unity gathered the remaining fragments of the divine realm, creating a series of pools to contain the ever flow of divine energy and life. The Unity needed time. Time to restore balance, reverse the flow, and return everything to the source. Life, as you understand it, entirely comes from the celestial creatures and divine beings who descended at the beginning. The realm you exist within is the fifth lesser realm. Just like your realm, every previous realm is filled with life, playing roles on both sides of this cosmic struggle. The voices went silent, and all Arrow could see was the forming of the lesser realms. To him, it looked like a series of pools designed to contain the flow of life. Still in silence, Arrow was pulled towards the last of the divine pools. Splashing down in what looked like the same cosmic black lake, Arrow had arrived at the fifth lesser realm. Buoyant and bobbing, Arrow was dumbstruck at the up-close sight of cascading divine energy, an inevitable process calling life to every lesser realm. Basking in the warm light of the fifth grandest waterfall to ever exist, Arrow thought he could see dust sprinkled down. The gentle water-like flow of pure divine energy turned into a curtain of sand and then what appeared to be gravel. As the thickening flow of life continued bringing existence to the uninhabited realm, Arrow was forced to avoid larger bits and pieces. They grew in size until chunks of debris bigger than mountains collided with spectacular force before spilling over the top of the previous lesser realm. Looking ahead, something caught Arrow's eye. One of the massive objects had quite a different shape when compared to the others. Getting closer, he could see that there was something growing on one major portion of the incoming mass. No longer able to swim away, Arrow was drawn in as its gravity took hold of him. The booming voices echoed again. There is more to existence than you can possibly imagine.
Arrow continued to approach the smooth, vegetated landmass. If the hordes of chaos and evil were defeated, where did the shadow come from? He attempted to ask. Soon the landmass began to shake and move away from Arrow in a peculiar manner, as if it could move on its own. Shocked from seeing something that size rotate in such a way, Arrow buried his fear and tried to enjoy the experience. As it continued its maneuver, he could soon tell it wasn't a landmass at all, but a planet-sized tortoise. The celestial tortoise presented itself in all its glory. The size and beauty of the mega creature was bewildering. It was so colossal that its head alone was bigger than X-12, his current home. Arrow looked into the giant creature's moon-sized eye. Sensing its peaceful nature put him at ease, even though he was still unable to move. The celestial tortoise made its way around until it was face to face with Arrow, and for some time it stared into his eyes, judging him. Once satisfied, the planet-like creature rotated upwards, maintaining eye contact with him while raising its back. Higher and higher it went, hypnotizing Arrow with the twisting forest that grew from its shell. Letting out a humming bellow that shook Arrow to his core, the divine creature called out to the many. The sound was so pure that the celestial tortoise began to shake. From its back, all manner of dust and particles of different size began to rain down. As these particles made their way to Arrow's level, they resonated with the bellowing beast. The particles harmonized in an illumination, turning the blank void of the fifth lesser realm into a star-filled canvas. Arrow's surroundings became the most spectacular sight he'd ever beheld. This has to be a dream, Arrow thought.
I assure you it is not.
The many voices replied. Arrow pondered the reality that the voices were coming from within him. What you see now, the voices said as one. Only 16 others have had the privilege to witness. As the celestial tortoise's bellow came to an end, it sang a soothing song, granting its blessing. The echoes of ethereal sound dissipated into the cosmos of the fifth lesser realm, leaving nothing but Arrow and the colossal tortoise floating amongst the newly born stars. Absorbing the full sight of the celestial tortoise illuminated by the light of the stars it created, Arrow was overtaken by pure bliss. If only Ava and Rael were here, they would love this, he said to himself.